Today I'm presenting at the Big WordPress Media Meetup, which is being held in the New York Times building. It's a pretty big meetup in New York. I think there are about 106 people registered right now, so that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm talking about the tournament bracket system that I built for the NYPost and their sites. So I should probably start making my presentation. I woke up a little bit late today. So I only have a few hours to go and get that done. On the plus side, it's just a lightning talk, so it's like 10 minutes of talking and 5 minutes of questions. Yesterday I kind of laid out the outline of what I'm going to talk about and stuff, and it was about 15 to 20 slides, so I think it's mostly going to be a matter of trying to cut stuff down and cut stuff out to fit within that time range rather than not having enough to talk about. But definitely going to be a cool meetup, and it's always a fun time after the meetup too, because we always go out to a bar and get to hang out with everyone in the New York WordPress community. Hey, so I'm Tom. That's what I look like. You can find me on Twitter at Tom Harrigan, or on the interwebs at thomasharrigan.com, and these slides are up on brackets.thomasharrigan.com if you want to click on any of the links and stuff. I work at Ali Interactive as a principal software developer. Our Twitter handle there is AliDev, and our website is aliinteractive.com. We work mostly on media sites and large nonprofits, and we're a WordPress VIP service partner. So I'm going to be talking about brackets, and a lot of times when people think about brackets, they think something like March Madness and basketball. I'm not really a fan of basketball, and things I think that are more interesting than that are soccer, watching grass grow, and dynamic bracket systems where the outcome is determined by user input. So here is a demo I made involving superheroes, and this is a little hard to see with the screen size, but basically we created a dynamic bracket system. This one has 4 superhero groups like Justice League and X-Men, and you can go and scroll through all of the different superheroes and stuff, vote on who your favorites are, and then once the response comes back from the Poll Daddy API, it shows you the current state of the voting, so what the percentage is, and it also comes back with the actual number of votes, so you can go and toggle between like percentage and vote number. And you can go and scroll through the different ones, and halfway through we go and we show an ad, because you gotta have ads. So it scrolls through every item in the current round, so like this one's currently in round 1, so it would scroll through everything there. If this was in like round 2 or round 3 and you clicked on something in that round, it would just show you the pairings for that current round to keep everything kind of clean. Let's see, other than the voting mechanism, the round progression is a pretty big deal, and one of the most important things with a bracket system is really that matching aspect and pairing up the items to go and allow them to be voted against. So when I think voting and matching items up, I think polls and Poll Daddy in this case, which gets around the issue of storing anonymous user data in WordPress VIP, and it also sets up the whole mechanism for allowing for the creation of this and keeping track of winners and losers and that kind of stuff. So some of the methods that we utilized in the Poll Daddy API, the main ones were actually creating the poll, the second one being voting, and then getting the poll results so that we can figure out who won a round, so that we can go and match up the round winners with each other to go and create the next round. And as I mentioned, one of the cool things about the voting is that it returns the current results of that matchup, so we don't have to go and store the results, the current results of a poll while it's in action. We can just wait until the round is over to go and worry about storing winner-loser data. So the voting itself is done through an AJAX request, and once you go and click on the vote button, it goes and takes the data of the item that you're voting on, gets the ID of the actual poll that it's associated with, and sends out the request, and then it gets back the data being the votes and percentages, and then goes and stores that shows that to the user on the front end. So the shortfalls of the Poll Daddy API are that you can only create one poll at a time. So in a bracket like this one was only 16 items. 16 items, so we're creating 8 polls. But if you have a bracket of, say, 64 items, then you're going and creating 32 polls at once. So if you go and shoot out 32 API requests, as well as going and saving all the metadata and stuff on your save event, you're going to have a bad time and probably hit a PHP timeout. So getting around that was a little bit of a challenge, not too much of a big deal. We go and we schedule a single event to occur on the save, and as we saw in here, it's split up into quadrants. So it goes and creates 4 events, one for each quadrant, to go and loop through those items, match them up, and create the polls. get back the IDs and save it to the metadata, which works fine until you get to the semifinals, and then everything breaks down between the quadrants. And you have the quadrant winners facing each other, and then the winners of that facing each other in the final round. So determining the round number is definitely a big deal in this, because you want to know how many rounds you're going to have once the poll is being created, so that you can do things like determine when you're going to go and hit the semifinal round and the final round, as well as being able to determine the widths of all of the bracket tree on the front end. So basically that's determined by your total number of, everything is base 2 in a bracket like this. Your total number of items equals 2 to the x, where x is the total rounds. So in a bracket of 32 items, you're going to have 2 to the x rounds where x is 4. So log base 2 of the total number of items shown is going to give you your number of rounds, which lets you do all the other fun stuff down the road. And creating the matchups. So let's go and take a look at the back end. So we're utilizing Field Manager, which is a custom fields plugin by us at Alley Interactive. So these are just like, setting up some custom images, and I have custom labels here for going and naming my quadrants after the superhero groups. And then down here we can go and create our items per quadrant, and have all the stuff like the name, maybe an extended title for modal dialogue where you have more space to display text, because you're kind of limited in the tree format as to how many characters are going to fit there. And you can handle video URLs like Vimeo, YouTube, Brightcove, Hulu, and a little bit of descriptive text and that kind of thing. So go and put those in there, and then it's going to go and create the seeds. So that like the first item is going to go and match up with the last item, and so on and so forth. But one of the challenges in doing that is you kind of want to spread around the wealth a little bit. So you don't want the, like say in the tree, the first 4 items in a bracket of quadrant of 8. You don't want 1 and 2 going against each other in the second round. You kind of want to spread 2 down to the bottom of your tree list, so that you don't have a very strong part on the top and then the weak teams all facing each other. You kind of want to spread it around and let everyone have, not an even chance, but a better shot than going and having 1 facing 2 right away. We'd rather go and see that a few rounds down the road. So you can either go and create your seeds algorithmically, and this being not so great aside from the code formatting, is also not so great because I believe it'll go and not spread those items out. But this is something that can be looked at down the road. But according to, like with the requirements that we had, we always knew that we were going to have a specific number of items per quadrant, per bracket, which allowed us to go and do things statically. So rather than looping through things, I just created some static arrays and did the matchups manually, because I always knew it was going to be exactly 16 or 8 or 4, etc. We're not doing buys in this initial version, but buys are something that would be pretty cool down the road. So with this, we can go and we basically just turn those items in that array into the keys, and then match it up with the actual items that we created in Field Manager with the custom meta boxes that we just saw. And then it goes and it chunks those guys together in that third line there, and then loops through them and stores the data, being the actual poll that we created with the poll data API, to one of those items, because we don't need to go and store that on both items. So when you go and move from, like, say, round 1 to round 2, we have to go and calculate the winners, which are additional API requests. So on that initial bracket of 16, we're going and getting those results of the 8 polls, and then getting the winners of all of them, and then filtering that list of our 16 down to the winners of round 1, and matching them up to create the polls for round 2, which then go and send a whole bunch of API requests to poll data again to get that data back. So that's all happening in the schedule of single events, so that we don't have to worry about the PHP timeouts and stuff like that. So once you hit save post, then like within about 5 seconds, usually all the polls have been created, and you can go about having fun and letting users vote. So we had to go and implement a few safety mechanisms, not just for poll data, but also from keeping like admins and editors from screwing up the polls. So using VIP safe WP remote get is awesome, because if your call to the API fails, it will go and do it again. Basically, it'll go wait a few seconds and then hit the API again and hope that it works. And also, if, as you may have seen, these items can go and be dragged and dropped when you are creating the poll, but once you hit round 1, you don't want to be able to go and move those items around, because that's going to mess up the matchups and poll IDs and all that kind of thing. So we go and we disable that, as well as the ability to go and add another item to a quadrant. And also, our mechanism for incrementing from like round 1 to round 2 is just this drop down at the moment, which could be optimized into being like maybe a little bit better UI-wise. But we go and disable it, everything that is not the next round. So you can only move to the second round if you're in the first round, because jumping to the third round, you're going to have a bad time. And a little bit of room for more improvement above just using the VIP save from OCAT. In the event that it still failed after all the multiple times that it tried to hit the 8th guy, it would be possible to go and figure out where it failed, like which event that it was trying to save, and then go and schedule a whole new event on that with all the remaining data to go and move through. But that's usually not an issue because Paul Daddy is pretty robust and reliable. So future considerations are like displaying tightest matchups. So if you have a race that's tight, I mean, that's kind of self-explanatory. But there are certain rules that need to be figured out around that, such as at what point in time do you have enough data to actually say that this is a tight matchup? Because in the very beginning, if you only have 2 votes on something, then yes, it is a tight match. It's only within 2 votes. But out of your sample set, like that's way too small to be statistically significant. And as I mentioned before, with buy rounds, so if you have an uneven number that isn't a power of 2, being able to go and have an item or 2 in each quadrant, maybe not go and face off in the first round and get a buy into the second round. That would be something down the road that could be looked at, as well as maybe a plugin making this available for everyone else. So this is Brackets, and it's made with Paul Daddy and Field Manager and Love. And I would like to thank the Times and the Decider team for the opportunity to work on an exciting project like this. Thanks a bunch.
I got some really cool coasters as like a thank you for speaking. So I'll show you those real quick. I got the WordPress one, Wapu, which is the Japanese mascot, automatic thing, Jetpack, and another Wapu guy, which is it's really like a Pikachu holding a WordPress ball. But he's a pretty cool looking dude. It was a lot of fun getting to speak. I definitely was a little bit nervous in the beginning. I could feel my voice, doing a little shaky thing in the beginning, but I think that kind of wore off about halfway through, so getting back into the rhythm of things. I thought it went well. Looking forward to speaking at some upcoming events. Anyway, subscribe down below, leave a comment. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.